One day following news that a bomb was sent to the New York home of George Soros, we have learned that a number of other bombs have been sent to prominent Democratic figures and also to the New York bureau of CNN. So one of the bombs was sent to Representative Wasserman Schultz, that's Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and this was confirmed by the FBI. They said that it was a suspicious package. Also, the New York Police Department responded to a suspicious device discovered in the Time Warner Center in New York City, where CNN has a bureau. And there was another package that was addressed to former CIA Director John Brennan. Now, luckily, these packages, for the most part, were intercepted by law enforcement or through Secret Service. There was also a device sent to the home of the Clintons. The device was found in the mailroom, and it's similar to the ones addressed to Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and George Soros. So it's hard to keep track. There have been so many of these packages sent to so many people: the Clintons, Barack Obama, George Soros, as we had reported yesterday, former CIA Director John Brennan, CNN, and also Representative Wasserman Schultz. So at the moment, we don't know anything about any potential suspects, but we do have some evidence showing that it is likely coming from one person or at least one group of people. According to law enforcement, the initial examination found the Time Warner, Clinton, and Soros devices were constructed similarly. At least one of the devices appeared to contain projectiles, including shards of glass. The devices are rudimentary but functional. Now, we have gotten some reaction from the White House, which I'll get to in just a minute, but Cenk, jump in.
Okay, so obviously huge speculation as to who did it. I'm not in the camp of like, oh, we shouldn't speculate until 17 weeks later and when we discover who it is. There are logical answers here, but of course with the caveat of you don't fully know. So, gee, I wonder who encourages violence all of the time, and is there a pattern to who it was sent? I mean, is that a real conversation? Are rational, intelligent human beings having that conversation? They were obviously sent to top Democrats and people considered to be liberal boogeymen like George Soros, CNN, et cetera. Now, I don't think CNN is in fact liberal at all, but certainly the right wing thinks that. There's now a conspiracy theory out, of course, by the right wing, aided and abetted by Rush Limbaugh, Fox News, MAGA, et cetera, saying that, it's obviously a false flag operation.
Oh, great, so let's incite further violence or upset people even more and create more division in the country. I mean, these guys are just ruthless and they just don't care. They don't care about the safety of anyone. And mind you, these bombs are being sent to people like Barack Obama and the Clintons, George Soros. Do you think that they're the ones who opened the mail? I mean, it's likely that someone who works for them or a member of Secret Service is gonna get to that package first. And then what happens if it detonates? I mean, it's horrible no matter what, obviously. But I mean, it's just such a ridiculous act of violence, and to share that ridiculous commentary about how it's a conspiracy theory just further incites people.
No, because, so that's look, just first, logically speaking, really, there's a Democrat who risked blowing up Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, George Soros, et cetera. That was a risk they were willing to take. Like, oh, well, because there's shards of glass and nails and everything else in there, it is set to explode. I mean, most of it was intercepted because CNN's a giant building. Wolf Blitzer doesn't open a mail at CNN, right? And Obama doesn't open his own mail. He's a former president, right? But you think a Democrat was gonna take the chance of blowing up those people? I mean, what a preposterous thing to say. And the only reason they say it is because of politics. And plus they know that their own followers are all conspiracy theorists. So they're all glorified Alex Joneses. So they thought, why not? So who likely did it? Obviously a right-wing extremist, very, very, very likely did it, okay? Because of who the targets are. It's not complicated. So let's not have a childish conversation about who is inciting this violence. So on the one hand, you have the left wing who is being called a mob nonstop on Fox News for
practicing their First Amendment rights and calling out politicians when they're in public spaces. Some people have gone a little too far, as we've talked about. The situation with Mitch McConnell where someone threw his leftovers into the sidewalk. But as far as I'm concerned, you can't equate throwing someone's leftovers on the street or sidewalk to an individual sending bombs to people.
One side is doing talking and yes, a little bit of yelling. That is core First Amendment. And the Fox News guys are like, oh, the thing that we care most about. I mean, I just had a debate with Tucker Carlson. He said the number one issue he cares most about is freedom of speech. And then guys are actually speaking to government officials. Like, it doesn't get any more core First Amendment free speech than that. They're like, mob. The other guys are sending bombs. They're sending bombs, okay? So that's what it looks like right now. If it turns out many weeks later, we find out that it was a left winger, I'll come out and lambast, destroy, pulverize anyone who sent that bomb and tell you exactly who did it. And of course we're gonna tell you who did it, but is it logical that it is a right? Of course it's logical that it's a right winger. Look at the targets. So now, look, one of the questions I asked earlier in the day in social media is, are we gonna at least call it what it is? And maybe it's because the media was also targeted. Finally, people are calling it terrorism. Now the reality is 71% of the people killed in terrorist acts in the last decade in America were killed by right-wing extremists. And time after time after time, lone wolf, not terrorism, just an extreme person, a mentally deranged person. I mean, they have a political agenda, they state their political agenda, they have manifestos, they have flags, they kill cops, all this stuff, right? No, it's not terrorism, it's not terrorism. When it's a Muslim, terrorism is a Muslim, right? No, when you do a bombing and you intend to blow people up and you do it for a political cause, that's terrorism. Otherwise, stop using the word. So like I said though, in this case, most people, including Republican politicians like Marco Rubio and others, are at least using the word terror, and that is what it is. And if it turns out it's a right winger, again, incredibly likely that it is, who incited it? Then the right wing say they need a safe space because we said Trump and the right wing keep inciting violence. The guy goes and says at his speeches, oh, you should body slam reporters. He says the reporters are the enemy of the people. Is that complicated? He says, punch people in the face, I'll pay your legal bills. Gee, I wonder who's inciting the violence. He says, people are coming to infest our country and they're paid by George Soros. Gee, I wonder how they got the idea in their head to put a bomb in George Soros' house. They say, lock her up. You should lock Hillary Clinton up. She's the enemy and she's a criminal. Gee, I wonder how they got the idea to bomb Hillary Clinton.
The media is the enemy of the people.
Yes, all of that. And so they have been inciting this violence, and it is massive from the right wing, and it is consistent from the right wing. To equate those two is absolute malpractice. It's journalistic malpractice. And so I don't care what they scream on Fox News. They're a bunch of liars on Fox News, and they do it for their own agenda and propaganda. We have bombs. They've been sent to liberals and Democrats, and it's because the right wing keeps saying over and over again, they are the enemy of the people, and you have to do something about it right away. And so apparently somebody decided to do something about it. And so I hope they catch the guy as soon as possible, no matter who he is, because whatever it winds up being, it is abhorrent, and this is unraveling, man. I mean, first it started with the rhetoric, and the right wing kept telling us, oh no, don't worry about it. We're just having fun. We're having fun talking about smashing reporters and hurting them and assaulting them. We're having fun. We're having fun, right? Oh, Soros is evil and he secretly controls us and he's got to be stopped. We're having fun. We're having fun. Oh, now we're at bombs. Are we still having fun? No, we're not having fun. This is an absolute disaster, absolutely caused by the right wing and their dangerous, violent, nonstop rhetoric. On the go? Don't worry, we got you covered. You can still listen to TYT at our new podcast network. Find us on Apple Podcasts, the Google Play Store, or at tyt.com/podcast.